Welcome, everybody. I am so glad you are here. Let me get my screen up to share with you all. I hope you brought a warm beverage with you. It's a BYOT, BYOB with a T emphasis, as in warm tea. If you're anywhere like I am and feeling the fall weather, then that will be a much welcomed addition to your evening. All right, so we are really going to be jumping into functional fertility tonight. As you know, if you are new to functional fertility, I'm excited to have you here to learn a little bit more about it and get to know me a little bit. If you don't know me, my name is Olivia, and I am a functional fertility dietitian. I help people and couples and women explain what is often called unexplained infertility. And you'll see why I have this in quotes here. We'll be exploring this idea as we go through and really understanding how we can explain some things about our infertility or struggles to conceive. So goals and purposes of tonight's webinar. We, of course, are going to talk about what is functional fertility. We're going to talk about how is functional fertility different from your standard care. And we are going to talk about the fertility gap. If you follow me on Instagram or you have seen any of my information there, you may have seen me talk about the fertility gap before. We're going to really figure out, how to find out if you're in it and how to get out of it if you are, or avoid it altogether. We're going to include a case review of one of my favorite Dutch test results. If you don't know what Dutch testing is, we will get into that as well. You'll know all about that. And we are also going to have a little bit of a surprise here at the end, which is really, really exciting. And I can't wait to share with you guys. First, we are going to start with a couple stats though. Number one, the stat that I like to begin with is that 15 to 30% of couples will be diagnosed with unexplained infertility. This is a very important stat because unexplained fertility is something that is very confusing and a lot of times leaves people having more questions than answers. Right? We don't really know where to go from there. So 15 to 30% of couples are diagnosed with this and really are looking for answers. Can you guys hear? If someone's just unmuted their phone, can you make sure it's muted? Awesome. Another major stat that I like to open up with is that it isn't even split. All right. Men and women are equally as likely to have problems with infertility. It oftentimes gets put on the woman, right? I mean, a lot of fertility concerns can be equated or kind of be the responsibility of the women. Really, it is an even split. We have to have a team effort when it comes to supporting fertility and getting pregnant. It's not too uncommon to be at the point where you finally get to the point where you want to have a family, right? I know that can take a long time. I myself know the struggles. And you get to this point and you're ready to start a family. You finally settle down or, you're at a point in your career where you want to do that. And, it doesn't happen as quickly as you want it to happen. And this is where I get a lot of women who say, I feel like I've done everything right and I still can't get pregnant. I did the whole marriage and family and you have a career and now it's just not happening. Or I have women that say that they have tried to avoid getting pregnant their whole life and now they want it to happen and it just won't happen, right? And yes, I get it. It's very frustrating. And this is where I really take an approach not to only optimize women's health and fertility, but also your partner's health, if indeed you have a male partner. And so how do we do that? A really quick introduction into functional fertility, I have to address something called root causes. Okay. Root causes are really what is at the base of your issues or struggles or frustrations. Unfortunately, life up until this point, maybe you're in your third decade of life or your fourth decade of life when you're finally ready to begin a family. And maybe there's things that haven't been too fertility friendly. Okay. Things like certain vitamin deficiencies that are underneath the surface. Things like improperly or even unmanaged stress, right? This could be stress in many, many different forms. This could be things like a poor diet or hormone imbalances that are not detected by standard testing. This could even be things like under eating. I often see that a lot of women are just not eating enough to fuel their fertility goals. Years or decades of birth control can play a big role in common root causes for infertility struggles. And even quote unquote healthy lifestyles still may have root causes that just don't set your body up for success. And these are many of the things that I see as common root causes of unexplained infertility. Even improperly timed sex, which I have underlined there. This is a very important question. If we are just not having sex on the right time of the month, the right days of the month to get pregnant, does that really mean that you're infertile? Probably not, right? It just means that we have to understand what your hormones are doing when you're ovulating and how to properly capture that appropriate time in your cycle. It's only a 1 to 2 days, maybe, that you can capture this. And it's not something that we can see just by using an app that tells us when we are ovulating. We actually have to determine this by multiple different ways, which you learn about in functional fertility. So these are root causes that maybe some of you identify with, or some of them are new to you, or maybe you've heard of other women experiencing these issues. The problem is that many times these are not addressed by traditional means, okay? Maybe on the surface they are. Maybe you do get a thyroid panel done, okay? And maybe everything's normal. Unfortunately, there's much more to a standard thyroid panel that needs to be done. Maybe, again, you are timing or tracking your cycles with an app, not enough to really understand exactly when we are ovulating and for how long, and if it's a proper ovulation or a robust enough ovulation, okay? So what happens is that the problem is that these root causes are very common and they are unexplored. And the idea is, when we want a baby, especially if we've waited a long time, especially if now we're just getting to the point in our lives where we kind of have our things together, right? And we're ready to start a family, we may fall into what I have coined the fertility gap. The fertility gap is an issue. This is where conventional medicine or your traditional practitioners' offices do not have the capability to detect and treat these hidden root causes of unexplained infertility. This leads to months or years of couples trying to conceive without proper support. And it makes couples feel like they've done everything, and the only option left is fertility treatments like IVF. So this is something that I talk a lot about. And if you've heard me, if you know me, if you follow me, I have nothing wrong with IVF. You'll actually learn that functional fertility can even support you in an IVF cycle. However, this is when couples feel like they've done everything their doctors have told them to do, or everything they've Googled and everything that they've read in all the books, right? And they're still not pregnant. So by the time you've exhausted these resources, you are really, emotionally exhausted. You're at your wit's end, and you feel like you only have one option, which is IVF. And for some couples, they may not be ready for that option, or they may not be a great fit for that option right away. This is something that a lot of my clients can relate with. Can anyone relate to this? This is kind of how I like to depict it. Is that, we finally, again, we're at the point in our life where we've done everything, we're good, we've decided it's a big deal, we want to start a family. And then we're just kind of in this no man's land, right? It's just like there's nothing in between the excitement of getting started, and then if things don't go as planned, then it's IVF. All right. And oftentimes you can just feel like there's something more there. There's something more, and there's no bridge. It's just this big gap. So what do we do about this? Well, functional fertility is that bridge. Functional fertility It's what bridges the excitement and really just the joy of beginning a family with the sometimes shocking, and maybe you're not quite ready to take that step into IVF yet. So this is really coming in as the solution, as the bridge to help you to get more answers to your questions, pull all the information that you have done on your own, all the research that you've done, trying to make it all come together, and really is the final piece to that puzzle for many, many couples. So how does functional fertility do this? And what is functional fertility? If you're new to the concept, functional fertility is a practice of diving deeper into why fertility is not optimal and how you can correct it. This gives you the power of your own fertility journey and improves your health and the health of your future family, no matter how that comes about. This can be via natural conception. This can be through IVF. Actually, functional fertility can decrease the number of IVF sessions that are needed to produce and to have you have a successful pregnancy. So there's many things that functional fertility does to bridge that gap and help you go from not really understanding how to proceed in the next steps of your journey, but really how to correct that and get to the bottom of those root causes. And I wanted to share this quote with you all. I know it's a long one. We're going to kind of skim through it, or maybe you're a fast reader and you go through it before I do. This is from a new client who's just starting out in her program. I get women from all over the health spectrum. Some are super quote unquote healthy. They're doing everything right that we think, or the ones that really know that they need to address root causes that are impacting their overall health and fertility. And this quote is really from someone who, came from a past of having some struggles with her health. She's starting the program. And of course, if anyone is trying to conceive, that when you get your period after your 2-week wait, it's quite emotional. That's a hard time, especially if it's been months or years. So this woman, she said, I suspect that I am going to get my period in a couple of days, and I was tempted to feel sad and discouraged. But when I thought about it, I realized that I've been so hard on my body for so long. And now I finally feel like I'm allowing my body to heal. And I have so much more insight into my body because of working with you. And she's willing to give her body whatever time it needs to be in optimal condition for a baby. So she's really understanding that no matter what happens, she is improving her overall well-being, her health, and it will have a major impact on her fertility going forward. And this is not to, be like something to say that I have helped this woman in particular, or, have this amazing idea and insight into her body. It's that she took the information from the program and was able to have it be empowering for her, that she actually was feeling in charge of her health for the first time simply by beginning the program. She's, I think, 2 weeks into the program, which is really incredible. And this is why I love what I do. And I would never get tired of helping women, helping couples optimize their health, and ultimately bringing babies into the world. And this is what functional fertility does, right? It's really about the system. She is going through the system that functional fertility provides, that you'll learn about here in a little bit. And this isn't about any particular person. This is about me as her practitioner. This is about her journey. And by focusing on 3 major aspects that functional fertility provides, she really, and women really, and couples get 100% success rates because they feel empowered, changed, supported, and like they aren't guessing anymore with their fertility. And that is what I consider a success rate. Unfortunately, I can't snap my fingers and make sure that everyone gets pregnant. However, success is so much more than that. And that's what this woman is already experiencing. She had such a hard journey before this. And so I just kind of wanted to share this because I know it can be all about getting the baby in the end, and that's wonderful, but it's also about the journey. So we're going to talk about the journey. what journey does functional fertility focus on? What does it take you through? How does it take you through that journey? There are really three major components to this. And the first and most important is one-on-one care. It's not possible to do what I do without an individual customization to each couple's story. There's no one size fits all. There's no magic solution. And I have time to spend with each of my clients, each of their visits, that is not limited by insurance restraints like most other practitioners. My clients and I have a relationship for the time we work together, and that is a major difference, and one that I hope that you come to expect out of your healthcare. This freedom allows the ability to find your hidden root causes and support your unique story. Super important. You're not treated like a number or a patient. We are a team. And this is a very, very important part of functional fertility, maybe the most important. The second is advanced testing. Again, if you know me, if you've seen my Instagram, you know that I do the Dutch advanced hormone testing. In fact, I don't offer a program without it. It is so important. I say don't guess, test, because I'm sure you're tired of guessing. There's a lot of guessing in infertility. And if you're tired of that, then yeah, let's get you some more answers. This is actually a portion of the Dutch test. We'll be going through a case review of this in a few slides. So advanced testing is a game changer. It's just not possible to take this deeper dive into infertility without it. And the third and final piece is the 3-pillar approach, okay? This is a system that addresses the why of your hidden fertility struggles, allowing you both to optimize your fertility one pillar at a time. And each of these pillars is based on the most recent scientific and anecdotal evidence to finally explain your unexplained infertility. So in my 3-pillar approach, you actually walk through a pillar each month to optimize all of these areas that are written here in these outer circles that are very overwhelming to try to do on your own. Oftentimes you'll read about them. If you read about, your fertility in books, that's amazing. Maybe you've read It All Starts with the Egg, or maybe you've read Taking Charge of Your Fertility, and you've likely hit on a lot of these categories. You may be like, I read about digestion, or nutrients. I know certain nutrients are important. However, understanding which ones are right for you are very, very critical. You're not, reading is amazing. Always expound upon your knowledge. Always do your own research. However, a lot of times it can be very frustrating because it's hard. It's hard to sift through the information. And also, those books aren't written for you. They're written for the masses, and you still need an individual approach. And this is where the 3-pillar approach provides that. So I want to show you a little insight from some now mamas that have gone through the 3-pillar approach and have really embraced the functional fertility program, and even some mamas to be. Daryl and Jeff here on the left, they're due in January, which is super exciting. And Daryl was someone who was healthy. I mean, she is healthy. She had her nutrition pretty much in check, her fitness. She knew what it meant to be healthy for her. However, we really dove into that deeper, right? Yes, being healthy is important, but what is healthy for your fertility may be slightly different. So we really optimized her fertility in a way that she didn't even expect, which was super powerful. Heather in the middle, this is her with her little baby boy Baxter. He was stinking adorable. She had a rough go of it. She had 5 miscarriages, 2 failed IUIs, and 2 failed IVFs. And she was 45 years old. She got pregnant with Baxter and delivered. I mean, she was pregnant with him at 45. I think she gave birth at 46, and which is really, really amazing, all with the functional fertility approach. And Lindsay and Jay. Lindsay had really some period issues. She never really was able to get a regular period off of birth control, but by working through the functional fertility approach, she regained her healthy cycle and learned when the best times in a month were to conceive. It's only a few days. Remember, it's not this, you have sex once you're pregnant. Unfortunately, that's not how it works when you want to have the baby. And they had their little baby girl, Abby, in August in 2020, I was supposed to say. She was born a couple months ago. And so it's very powerful to hear it from other women. All these women have different stories, and they all really were ones that thrived with those 3 key components of functional fertility. Again, that's OneonOne Care, advanced hormone testing, and the 3-pillar approach. And the main reason is every one of them is unique. They're all very different. Daryl is very different from Heather, and Heather is very different from Lindsay and Jay. And we worked on a lot of things with Jay, and we worked on a lot of things with Jeff. And Heather, we only did work with Heather. And so it just depends on your story and what care you need. And these women are really just so inspirational to me, and I hope they are to you too. And so I want to give you a quick look into what these pillars and each of these pillars mean, because most often people respond differently to a pillar or a section of a pillar. And that's the beauty of the 3-pillar approach, is that we go through, we learn all of them, and then we really target in on what you need, which is really an incredibly powerful way to customize your journey. And so pillar number 1 is all about rebuilding your foundation. This is where actually I think almost everybody has benefited from this pillar that's gone through the program in more than one way. So this is the, I think, game changer in functional fertility, because if your body isn't primed and ready, then it doesn't matter what supplements you're taking. It doesn't matter if you're eating healthy or have the perfect diet. You likely aren't even utilizing those nutrients well. So it's very important to take a step back and rebuild your foundation, because it's more than just what you're eating. It's more than just what you're putting in your mouth. It really is important to address these 4 areas. Pillar number 2 is called depleted to repleted. And after we have established your solid foundation, a new foundation, a better foundation, it's all about repleting, bringing in. And this is often different than what people may think. And it's only guided by your results from your advanced hormone testing. So if you're someone who thinks, you're doing everything by the book, you do everything that you read that you're supposed to do, and you're still not where you want to be, well, yeah, you may be reading the wrong book. This is a book for you. You got to learn what your book is, what your unique inputs are. And so that's where pillar number 2 comes into play. And then the last pillar, pillar number 3, is permission to thrive. So this is all about thriving, taking all that information we learned and putting it into practice, and really letting your new body be capable of incredible healing in ways that you may not have thought otherwise, especially if you've been on the journey for a while. It can just kind of seem like your body is almost letting you down or failing you. But this is a way to really change that story and change that narrative. And I wanted to give you a quick review of the pillars, because every pillar, again, tends to kind of resonate with the couples differently. All of them come into play. However, I often find, just from doing this for some time now, is that each pillar there's usually one that has a profound difference. For Heather, for example, pillar number 2 was huge for her. We found so many things in pillar number 2 through her testing that we had to bring in. We had to replete, bring back into her system, her newly established system. For Daryl and Jeff, pillar number 1 was critical. We had a lot to do with the non-negotiables, the very important foundational pieces that we then build upon. And again, before she started, she didn't really think, she thought she kind of had all this under control. Nothing too crazy stood out. However, we found a different case there. So pillar number 1 really, really helped her thrive. And with Lindsay, it was pillar 3. So yeah, I just love thinking back on working with these women and these couples and remembering kind of the aspects from each of them. And it's really amazing what the 3-pillar approach can address and really bring out and kind of bring that comprehensive support when needed. So I'm now this is kind of my favorite part of the webinar, right? We've talked about the 3-pillar approach. We've talked about why functional fertility is different and how addressing root causes is really at the base of defining the difference of a standard approach to fertility and a functional approach to fertility. And what I want to walk you through now is one of my favorite case studies of all times. All right. This is a quote from a woman, and her really idea was that she has always been a health nut. She had no issues in sight, and thankfully, she was very thankful that she's always been healthy. And she actually decided to do a Dutch test kind of for fun. And this is actually the Dutch test over here on the left. This is what I run in every single client's program. She actually was just curious to see how amazing her results were. So when she got her results, she was definitely surprised and changed the way, it really changed the entire way that she prepped for her future baby and helped her avoid the fertility gap altogether. So in her mind, this woman was the epitome of health. She always focused on her nutrition and exercise. And in fact, she was really knowledgeable in the field. After she got her Dutch results, which we'll go over in a minute, she took them to her gynecologist, and they told her nothing was wrong. And she was kind of just worrying about nothing. However, the problem is that we found with the Dutch test is if you start over here on slide number 1, this woman found that she was not ovulating. She was actually having a regular period. So she never thought there was any issue with ovulating. If you know anything about your cycle, you know that you have to ovulate to have a period. You have to ovulate to get pregnant. So we actually found on her Dutch cycle mapping that she was not ovulating at all. And the periods she was experiencing were actually more of a withdrawal bleed. She wasn't actually ovulating. So if you don't ovulate, there's no egg to fertilize. Therefore, just not going to happen. In number 2, we found up here in number 2, we always test progesterone. Progesterone is an essential hormone to basically take care of a fertilized egg until it's big enough that the uterus can take over. So progesterone is called a progestation hormone. It is very important, and it has to take over in the second half of your cycle. If you see here, I know it's a lot to interpret this test, and that's why I do this as a clinician. I interpret this for you, but I like to show you what we see too, because this is very powerful. If you see here, this is her result, this little yellow triangle. And ideally, you want to be in this green area between these 2 stars. She is right above this purple box, which is a postmenopausal range for progesterone. This means that this 28-year-old woman was in postmenopausal range for progesterone. This is not good. This means that she would not be able to get pregnant. There's no progesterone, meaning that she would never be able to have a fertilized egg stick or implant. Okay, big problem. Again, gynecologist said, as long as you're having your period, that's okay. You don't need to worry about it. This is something to worry about. The third finding that we found, these 2 important hormones, DHEA and testosterone, very, very essential for fertility. Not good levels here. Low DHEA, high testosterone. This actually paints a PCOS-like picture. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, if you're not familiar. We also see 2 other key findings. High cortisol. She's this red value here. We want her in this gray range. This means she's super stressed out. Didn't think she was. but she's super stressed out. And the last piece of the puzzle is her estrogen. Poor estrogen detox. Estrogen is very important in this picture. The great thing about this test is that it actually shows how your body is dealing with estrogen in your system. Once you use it, you have to get rid of it. She was actually shunting estrogen down this very dangerous pathway. In fact, she had a family history of breast cancer. And so this is not something we want to see with a high family history of breast cancer, not only affecting fertility, but also even related to cancer risk. Not good, right? These are all things that her gynecologist said, oh, don't worry about. As long as you're having a period, it's totally fine. You have plenty of time to get pregnant. You're 28. Don't worry about it. So this woman really just, she didn't really accept that as an answer and she was pursuing functional fertility and working with that and developing a system. And what was the result of this woman's functional fertility journey? After seeing all these things that she needed to work on and would have no idea otherwise, her result, and actually this is kind of the big surprise of the program, is that was actually me. Those were actually my results. This is me and my husband now. And I'm actually telling you guys before I've told anyone else that we are expecting in next year, which is super exciting. But after all of that findings, I had no idea that I was dealing with anything hormonally, no idea that I would have an issue getting pregnant. If I had not undergone Dutch testing and really found that information, I would have been fallen deeply into the fertility gap. I would have been trying to get pregnant and had no idea why it wasn't working because no progesterone was being made. I was not ovulating. Unbeknownst to me, I was struggling with something, a form of PCOS called adrenal PCOS. Yet, nothing was done about it, or nothing was even encouraged to be done about it. And so I want to be really sensitive to the fact that, if you're on here, you may be having fertility struggles on your own. And I want you to know that this is why I do what I do. This is why I do functional fertility, why I've developed this proven 3-pillar approach to help women, no matter where they are on their fertility journey, because I've been there. I've been in a place where I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea there was even an issue until I dove deeper. And fortunately, the fertility gap was something that I was able to bridge. And now I'm providing that bridge for other women and other couples going through this same story. And so I wanted to share, it really is my favorite case study of all time because it is a case study that really set me on this path, and one that now I can officially say is worth it, and one that is very beneficial for women of many different stories and backgrounds. In fact, one of the women that have gone through my program has called this a leave no stone left unturned approach to fertility. And I love that. And I use that now to really show other people what it's all about, right? We really look under everything. We really take a dive deeper and understand what's going on, even if you really, everything has come back normal. I also am doing air quotes with normal, or your doctors haven't found anything in testing yet. There's still so much more to identify, so much more under the surface. And even when we're told not to worry about it and everything's okay, if we're not getting pregnant, then there is something to look under, something to dive deeper into. And so I hope that story was inspirational for you. It's been quite the journey for us as well. It wasn't an easy one. And so I totally empathize and understand where you may be and how you may be feeling. But I encourage you that there are things that can be done and there are answers to be found. And so I want to tell you guys that I do have a class that is now open for enrollment. And if this presentation resonated with you, if this story, if my story, if other women's stories resonated with you, then there is something to do about it. My winter group class is now open for enrollment. There is limited seating just because the one-on-one approach can't be seeing a ton of people every month. And so it's a wonderful way to get started. It is actually my lowest program price ever. That includes 3 virtual visits, one-on-one, 3 group sessions that just like this are recorded so that you could listen to them afterwards. Monthly meal plans. It does have the Dutch testing. It is community led, so you're really working with other like-minded couples and women. And there is an enrollment deadline before December 1st. And so this is a wonderful way to get started in pursuing a functional approach to your fertility. And I like to end with this quote: if you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. And if you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. I love this because, again, oftentimes we may come up against rebuttals. There may be people or practitioners, unfortunately, that are not willing to dive deeper or learn, but really it's up to us. If we're willing to learn, if we're willing to take that next step, then there's nothing that can stop us. And so it's all about pushing the envelope a little bit further. And I like to end on, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open up for questions if you guys have questions. You can also just use this QR code. This will take you to a form to fill out on Google Forms. And there are a couple options for next steps. Yes, the winter group class is one of them. You can also schedule a free discovery call with me if you would like to talk about your case and have more questions. And there's also one-on-one programs. So my full one-on-one programs that include more sessions, additional testing as well. It really includes everything in there that you may ever need. And I do recommend that for certain cases over others. And that's where we could talk on a discovery call on what fit is best for you. So you can just screenshot this. You can take a little snap on your phone right now. I will also put the link in the chat box here in a moment as I stop for Q&A. And I will, I just thank you all for attending and really coming to check out a little bit more about functional fertility, whether it's new concept to you or you've been following me for a while. So I'm going to end the conversation here, the recording here, but then I'll jump over into the chat box and answer any questions that you may have.